So I recently got this order from the Sassy Club, and I believe this is brand new, and I decided I just had to get it. I have grandsons who love Minecraft, and even my 15-year-old still enjoys playing it. So I just got the paper, and so I wanted to show it off to you. And it's double-sided. It is shiny and a little bit slippery kind of feeling, so it is very nice quality. I believe there's 2 of each design. Oh, that's different. I don't play Minecraft, so I don't remember seeing that before. Here we have the little, oh my goodness, a whole scene here, background scene. It's really cool. Definitely don't want to cut that up much. The swords and very typical Minecraft looking thing. Oh, this looks like more like Space Invaders, doesn't it? So the pack obviously isn't called Minecraft, but it's called Pixelate. So even though really the majority of it is Minecraft, that just looks like video games to me. And then the other side, and some bricks. Oh, and another full scene here. That almost reminds me of Super Mario, like with a mushroom there, and lava. Some more very Star Wars or Tron, or I guess video game looking. And all the little things in Minecraft. More swords. Oh, another scene. Oh, this is a very realistic looking scene. Cool. So a whole lot of different designs. 2 sheets of each, the front and back. So there's a total of, this doesn't say, that's 6x6 paper. And then I also got the Minecraft kind of, it's called Gamer. And of course it has a little Jack Black kind of look-alike here. So because I do want to make some Minecraft focused cards, and then I just want to make some that are more video game-esque, I'm going to look at this back sheet of Kendra's challenge and figure out some of the papers that are together. So E and F. So F is only either by itself or with E. So whatever I choose for F kind of has to stand on its own. So these would be really good ones for me to, E and F would probably be, especially F would be the one I would want to do for something that's not Minecraft related. And then all the other ones, like this one has A through D, F is with, or E is with A, and E is with C and D, and B and C, and A and C. So whatever I choose for A, B, C, or D are all going to eventually, A through D will all eventually work with E as well. So the other ones are quite mixed up. So 14 and 15 are F alone. So those are really going to be good ones to do something a little bit different if you are using paper where maybe one of them doesn't tie in as well with the others. So here I've decided on my papers for A through F. So this is going to be A, B, C, D, E, and F. So F is the one that looks more like Space Invaders. I also have this other side to use if I need to. It only is by itself or with paper E, and I have this side over here as well to use if I need to make it work with paper F. So I'm going to cut, and then we will start working on some cards. So for card sketch number 1, we need 2 half circles, and so this is half of the circle, and I'm going to use this old Stampin' Up! paper. It's gotten faded from sun and stuff. It was, but that's okay. We're going to take care of that. So Lynn from LV Handcrafted had a great idea for cutting these circles so that you have 2 that line up well. So I'm going to cut this down to a 3x3 square, and then I will line these up together so that I can see where my circle is at and cut those through at the same time. So you can see as I cut these, like it's very much right at the edge there. And it looks like we did get a good cut. So now that I have 2 circles, I guess I didn't really need to cut them together. Maybe Lynn didn't do that. Sorry, Lynn. If I go to Lynn's channel, she'll explain what she did correctly. Anyway, if you line up the two circles and then tape those together, and then cut these in half, and maybe you don't need to tape them, it just depends. I'm a little bit slippery sometimes, so anyway, let's cut them at the same time so that we can have them lined up. It's a 3.5 inch circle, so at 1.5 inches, we should be able to line this up right between there, cut this in half, and now these two pieces should line up perfectly to, actually, these two opposites will line up better. Sorry, the opposites line up better to make a full circle. So those two go together, and these two would go together, except for that this one actually goes on a different card. So we will put this with, this goes to card sketch number, card sketch number 2. So we're gonna move this over to 2, and we'll throw this in there too. I don't think we'll need it, but this is for card sketch number 1. Now we have this circle that lines up perfectly. So I went ahead and decided to use a dark brown for my strip that goes across here, and I've got my little sword cut out and colored, and I decided to use a sheet of one of the background papers for this background up on the sketch because yeah, there's not very many opportunities to use these kinds of backgrounds, so I thought this would be a good place for it. And I have stamped out some of my characters. So I've only colored 3 of them because they're a lot to color, and I've been doing it for a while, and I didn't want to do it on camera just because it takes a long time. However, I was notified by my son, who likes Minecraft, that this is kind of with the wrong colors. It is blue, but he said it was darker blues, and but I'm okay with that. And then he said that Steve, apparently this is human Steve, has a blue shirt, and so I colored that wrong. But he thought he did a pretty good job on the creeper, and then he told me what colors to use for the dog, and then I haven't colored this character yet. But I put it all on Copic friendly paper so that it doesn't bleed too much, and I did dot a bunch of black and browns and different greens on the creeper before I colored some different greens over him, and I think it turned out pretty well. I am putting it back in my stamping platform. I left my stamps where they were when I stamped them, and so I'm putting it back in here, and I'm going to go over what I've already stamped, or what I've already colored. Hopefully, Lord willing, I might have to say a little prayer that this is in the right position. But I want to use some VersaFine, so maybe I'll just do the creeper first. He was less difficult to color than Steve was, so maybe I'll just do him and see if I have it. I put it back in the corner like where it was, pushing it as far as it'll go, so hopefully, but this is just a technique, and it's not like I'm doing anything special here, but I often forget, and it looks like it did pretty well, but it really gives it a nice clean finish, and especially after you've colored with either Copics or watercolors or colored pencils, it just makes that print stand out, that stamp stand out a little bit more, and it looks like it went fairly well on the lines there, so I'm going to give it a go with my dog and my character Steve here, and hope that, and pray that it's in the right spot. It looks like it, and I keep having to move it back because it's like sticky. VersaFine's a little bit stickier than the Memento ink. So, and of course these are new stamps, so they tend to be a little bit stickier anyway. I'm gonna try and get that little fuzzy piece off there before I stamp that on him. Alright, so hopefully you can see the difference between the before and after, and just really brings those lines, makes them much more distinct, and I like it. I'm gonna probably hand cut these out. 2 hours later, I finally got these cut out. It's not really 2 hours, but it has been a while. And I'm just going to use, this is a non-Copic, non-alcohol marker. This is just straight regular ink. But I'm going to go around my edges just to make those white edges disappear. Per the usual, I've cut out the inside of my back layer, and I have all of my pieces here that I'm going to put together. I've got my sentiment strip, and I'm going to use a little bit of ink. This is older paper, and I've got some fading around the edge just from sun damage, and so I'm going to just use some green ink to kind of go around the edge and darken that. So the Unity one also has this one that says loading, and I thought, well, maybe we'll put that on there, and because it'll look like they're frozen right on the screen, I guess. So let's go with that one. So let's glue some of this together. Of course, there's always an error, right? So I cut this piece and I had it ready to go, and I stamped it, and I don't know if you can see, but I pressed too hard when I stamped it, and so the loading images or wording got kind of squished. And so then I thought, oh, loading, there should be like these lights, you know, as I light up as it loads. And I was using VersaFine ink, and of course if I color with VersaFine ink, it's going to make a hot mess. So I went back to my scraps and I got another piece of this that I still need to trim down, but I re-stamped it so loading is not all squished, and I stamped this portion in Memento so that I can color some of those squares in like it actually is loading, and then this portion I use the VersaFine just because it gives it that nice really deep dark black. So I decided to do something a little fun. I popped this up after I put some touch of green around there. I did get a little bit of my fingers smushed with some black because of the VersaFine wasn't wet, so that's kind of a bummer, but hopefully it'll just look like his shadow or something when I get him on here. So I'm popping him up on the same, it's kind of thicker than I would use if I was going to be mailing this, but because I know I'm not going to be mailing it, I'm okay using this thicker foam tape. And I don't remember where I got this foam tape, but I don't like it. This is the first time I've used it, and it's pretty thick for one, which, you know, sometimes is something you need, but it's not very sticky. So it seems to be sticking to the paper okay, but it doesn't feel very sticky at all. So I'm kind of, you know, a little bit like it's just, I don't know, not very sticky. So not impressed. Don't remember where I got it, unfortunately. So I can't like make sure I don't buy it again. So I'm gonna pop him up here, right close to the edge. I'm not going to, I didn't put any foam tape right on his feet because they're going to be on top of the little words here, and I'm going to try and get a little dot. So now that I have him popped up and his feet glued down, I was going to put the sword on there. That was my original plan, but I think I'm going to put this creeper on here because he looks scared, and Jack Black here, aka Steve, looks like he's pretty excited to whack this creeper. So I'm going to use a yeah, the spring thingy. I'll put it on his head. So it's up here. Oh, no, I shouldn't have put it there. Now he's gonna flop forward. So, of course now it's stuck really good. All right, well, I guess we'll have to just go with it. It still boings. Why am I not remembering what these are called? It's been a rough day, folks. So yeah, how fun is that? I didn't put it on a card base, but other than that, card sketch number 1 only took me about, you know, a week. It is actually a Wednesday morning and school was canceled, so I am home for the day. So I decided to go ahead and work on my cards some more. And I'm trying to do sketch number 2. It calls for this 2.5-inch circle to be cut in half. And you can see it's super close to the edge here. So either the solution would be very carefully taping it down and trying to get those rounded edges, or you could also, if you experience this, go to a slightly smaller circle. So I'm going to try and tape it on both sides as close to the edge of the die as possible, and see if I can get rounded edges, because that's the important part. Now, it may be that by the time I decorate it, some of that is covered up, and if I get non-rounded edges, I may have to use some stamps or whatever to hide that. All right, I had barely any scraps left, but it looks like it got pretty rounded. I don't see any flat parts, and of course, since it's patterned paper, it's going to help hide if there was any issues with cutting out that circle. So it is very close with some of these. Oh no, you know what? I see it right there. There's a flat edge. Do you see it? So when you look at it from this side, not quite as obvious, but because I know that that's there, I will cut my circle in half right where that flat side is, and so it won't be hopefully quite as obvious when I cut that in half. Or maybe I can even shorten it on the paper, and so that that will be trimmed off and you won't see that flat edge. But yes, I did miss it there, and it is a little bit flat right there. So that is the challenge sometimes. I even think maybe this side is a little bit flat as well. I think the paper was slightly bigger one direction than it was the other, and that's what happens when you cut paper down. You know, it's just, I feel like paper trimmers aren't always exact, and so yeah, that happens. But I could also go in with a slightly smaller circle and just cut that. You can kind of see where that side is, see on the side there. And cut a 2-inch circle or 2 1/4-inch circle instead. That would be another option. But I think if I just cut it where that flat side is, and then maybe if I have to, I can just trim it off the edges, and you won't be able to see that. So again, I thought this would be a pretty good place to have a background paper. And I think, you know, I got this angry looking dog here and I don't know much about the game, so I don't know if that's what that actually represents as far as the game goes. But I have this stamp here that says you can always hit the restart button. So I thought that might be a fun sentiment to put on here and have it be like a, I'm sorry you had a rough day, or like, you know, with the dog, rough day, haha. So I think I'm going to do that. So let's see, we have our 3 half circle here, and you know, it is going to cover up some of our background. So I could go kind of more plain here too. I don't know. What do you think? Kind of a lot of busyness, maybe too much busyness. Yeah, I think it is too much busyness. So I think I will save this for a different card, maybe sketch number 3, because it's fairly simple. We'll see. And I'm going to just get a plain colored background to go with this, and still use the dog and the sentiment that I think will go together well. So I left up the edges with this Tim Holtz little, I don't know what it's called, edger thing. And just because, you know, this is for having a rough day, so I wanted to make it kind of rough, and I added a lot of vintage photo around the edges, and so it's almost not even very much green anymore. And then I have black for my background, and I cut out the center, and I'm going to put that there. And then I've just used scraps for the sentiment strip. This is bigger than what it calls for on the sketch, and then I just made a border for that as well. And I thought about maybe inking this up, but then, you know, there's so much ink already that I wanted this to, you know, stand out, so I'm not probably going to ink that up. It is a little bit different green, but it was from my scraps, and there's just green with the Minecraft paper anyway, so I don't think that's a big deal. And then I will just lay everything out here and figure out how I want it to look before I start gluing everything down. And I think this, you know, even though the green is a different green, I think that it still, you know, kind of works. And, you know, we have those flat edges somewhere, but you can tell? I don't think you can even tell. So there's just, you know, a lot of distractions going on, so I don't think we need to worry about that. And then, like, you can see that my sentiment's going to be going over some of this paper, you know, so if we wanted to, we could maybe move it up a little bit, so it's not covering as much. But then, you know, I'm going to have the angry dog here, and I'm going to put a sentiment in the center and the inside that says, something like, sorry you had a rough day. And I don't know if I have a stamp set that will work for that, but I can always print that on the computer and put that inside the card like that. So I have card sketch number 3 laid out here. I'm going to be using the back side of the paper that I used instead of this side. I think I will use this side and use my little sword here. Keep it fairly simple following the sketch. I've got a small sentiment here. It says you survived, and I'm going to have the sword kind of cover my edge there that I kind of messed up a little bit. And because I was trying to trim it and my trimmer just wanted to spin it around because it's kind of small. So this will be the basic card, and on the inside it says I'll have it says you survived, and on the inside I'll have another year, and then, you know, happy birthday to my favorite gamer. Be able to use all 3 of those sentiments on the inside, but the outside will just kind of be more simple and kind of give you a little bit of like, you survived, what? What does that mean? So yeah, so for sketch 3, you need to put this strip on first before you put your background on. For my background, I did use another black piece, and then I cut a couple shadows for some word guys out of the back, which you're not going to see. And so you put your strip on there first and trim off the excess, and then once you've done that, you can put your little 1/4 inch side strips that go on there. And you can go all the way from the corner, like it literally was at the corner, and then all the way to this corner. So you use up a lot of the strip. You're not really wasting very much of the paper at all. And then once I have those pieces off, I'm going to lay down my 1/4 inch strips before I lay it on the background sheet. So I'll lay these down and trim those off, and then once I have those put on, I can put it on my background and add my sentiment and any embellishments. So this is my finished card, except for not on a card stock for the base yet. I did not pull this far enough, and I'm missing a tiny little corner there, but I don't really think you'll notice. It's pretty simple, and really it's letting this kind of cool video game paper kind of be the star of the show, and I like how card sketch 3 turned out.